What's up guys, my name is Westie and I'm back again today to talk to you guys about Battlefield 4, and more importantly we're going to be talking about Battle Recorder and Spectator Mode. Something that Battlefield 3 always lacked was a battle recorder. DICE did say at the start of the Battlefield 3 product cycle that we were going to see one eventually, but it never saw the light of day. DICE had their own reasoning behind it. They felt it was too complex for the community to actually use it. Many people were of the opinion that half a battle recorder that sort of worked and was quite difficult to use would be better than not having a battle recorder at all. But you know what DICE are like, things have to be perfect. And to be honest, I didn't really mind. The community sort of answered everybody's questions on Battle Recorder. First of all, we had something called the Battle Recorder, which was where you could lock onto certain objects that would fly around the battlefield. You could use the MAV camera, all that kind of stuff. But that got shut down pretty quickly as it required you to modify your game files. Various other inventions such as Venice FX and the free cam for Battlefield 3 have sort of filled that gap a little bit to an extent. I know that Level BF used the free cam that they've actually invented themselves to sort of record esports matches that go on every week. And I have to say the community have done really well in trying to support this kind of battle recorder spectator mode for Battlefield 3, because it was kind of a letdown that we didn't get something like that for Battlefield 3. It could have been a great game if we had this spectator mode. There were so many moments in Battlefield 3 where I wasn't using my game recorder to actually record what I was playing, and so many epic moments happened, and I never got round to seeing it again because there wasn't a battle recorder included with Battlefield 3. Think of the amount of epic things that have happened to you in Battlefield 3 and you haven't had the opportunity to go back and record. Obviously now I make it a habit that I've always got DX Story open when I'm playing games, just in case these epic moments come about. But for you guys, do you think it's annoying that there isn't a battle recorder for Battlefield 3? I mean, Call of Duty do pretty well with their theatre mode, that every game is recorded. You can go back in with a free cam, place it anywhere, add tracks in so that the camera will move around as action is happening. I think that would be a really good system to have in Battlefield 4. Much the same way as a battle recorder would work, a spectator mode is something that I think should be key for Battlefield 4. DICE and the developers have already mentioned that they want esports to be a main focus of Battlefield 4, and they are interested in building it into the game. So it would make sense for DICE to build a spectator mode into Battlefield 4. And I think that, like I said, Level BF have already got their own way of doing things. It's not perfect, but they've done a bloody good job considering what is available for them to use in Battlefield 3. You can get some pretty cool camera shots with the MAV cam, and they do really well with a controller system, whereas instead of using a mouse they use a controller to control the camera, so you can see smooth action on the battlefield at all times. But at the moment they don't have the ability to sort of lock onto certain players, and so that you can follow a person around in third person view, pick anyone on the battlefield to watch that player as it's happening. You don't have that kind of feature yet. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is, in Battlefield 4, I think it would be a great idea to have this battle recorder so you can record games, so that you can watch players in a spectator mode, and I think that would really encourage people to start playing a more esports mode kind of thing. But then again, you have to make sure that Battlefield 4 would be a game that was fit for an esports mode. Currently in Battlefield 3, as it is right now, esports isn't great. The main factor that is suppression. Obviously suppression is an aspect of Battlefield 3 that we all have to live with, but it's something that in esports isn't really very sort of well liked. Essentially, suppression gives you 3 points for not hitting someone, and in the esports world that doesn't go down very well. In esports you've got to have good aim, and if you're a competitive player you've got good aim anyway, but suppression throws that aim off completely. So for Battlefield 4 I'd have to say that suppression would have to be an option that could be turned on and off in the game. So suppose it could be a server side thing, like where an admin has control over the suppression effect in Battlefield 4. Or perhaps it's only available to certain servers where there's a competitive aspect, or you have to have some sort of license to be a competitor in Battlefield 4. I'm not really sure how it would work, but it needs to be an option so that it can be turned on and off for competitive matches. Second of all, the game modes in Battlefield 3 at the moment aren't exactly the most competitive types of games. And there aren't very many ways for you to get into competitive matches in Battlefield 3. It's quite uncommon that you actually come across servers where there'll be 5v5 on a TDM map, something like that, but it's quite uncommon for you to come across something like that. For me, if you're going to have a competitive mode, then it needs to be some sort of squad rush kind of thing or a squad deathmatch kind of system. And of course then that brings in map design as well. You can't have TDM on the side of a mountain, it just doesn't work, so you need some sort of vertical gameplay, indoors and outdoors, maybe forest areas, something like that. The maps need to be designed well to support the esports mode. And of course with that, that brings maps that need to be specifically designed to only work for certain game modes. If you think back to Bad Company 2, there were many maps in that game that only supported rush mode, like Isla Inocentes and Valparaiso. They were very linear maps, and that's why they only supported rush, because that's the only game mode they really worked for. Of course they did work for other game modes like TDM, but what I'm really talking about is they didn't put Conquest on those maps, and for a good reason. If you think about Operation Riverside from Endgame in Battlefield 3, it's a rather linear map, and on Conquest Large all the flags are lined up in one line down the middle of the map, and there's only a couple of flanking routes, and most of the time those are guarded by tanks. This means it can make it very difficult for you to flank the enemy and go and take another objective across the other side of the map to free your team from, let's say, a spawn raid, for example. It's the same for Operation Metro and Dama Van Peet. They're just too linear to work for Conquest, which is why in Battlefield 4, if esports needs to work, then it needs to be specific maps for specific game modes. Anyway guys, I do have a lot of other things that I'd like to talk about esports, but it's such a big sort of topic that I don't really think it warrants me talking about it for 15 minutes. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think about esports in Battlefield 4? Do you think it should be some kind of system similar to what we see in Call of Duty, where 5 versus 5 with a theatre and spectator mode? Or are you quite comfortable having the suppression aspect in there? I don't know, you guys need to tell me in the comments. But thanks for watching guys, do leave a like if you did enjoy this video, and as I've said, comments are always appreciated. I do try and read as many as I can. But my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.